Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive on how to supercharge that amazing defense system you carry around your immune system.
It's more fascinating than people realize.
Right. So, we're going to be digging into this awesome research paper called Science Backed Habits for Immune Health and Illness Prevention.
It's a great resource.
It really is. And I think our listeners will be surprised to learn that just getting hand washing right can actually prevent like 1 out of every 5 respiratory infections.
That's a huge impact from something so simple.
Totally. And we're also going to be talking about how sleep can actually produce those molecules that you need to fight off infections.
It's like an overnight defense boost.
Uh-huh. And even cover that super important vampire cough.
Oh yeah, the vampire cough.
So important.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how often we just don't think about those everyday things we do that can either totally help or totally wreck our immune system.
I know, right?
So let's just jump right in with hygiene. I mean, everyone thinks they've got hand washing down pat, but the science is actually pretty surprising.
Oh yeah, a lot of people think it's just a quick rinse. But the real magic happens when you combine soap, water, and a full 20 seconds of scrubbing.
20 seconds, huh? I guess most people probably don't hit that.
Probably not,
Ah.
but that's the key. Because soap actually breaks down that protective outer layer that the virus has, so it can't latch onto your cells.
Wow, so no latching, no infection. That's way cooler than just like killing germs.
Is.
I'm looking at soap in a whole new light now.
Me too.
And of course, we got to talk about keeping our hands away from our faces, especially after touching stuff in public.
It's so important. Those mucous membranes in your eyes, nose, and mouth, they're basically entry points for viruses. So touch a doorknob, then your face, and you've basically given them a free pass.
So it's not just about being squeamish, it's like strategic germ warfare.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of strategy, let's talk about the vampire cough.
Ah, the vampire cough.
Yeah, coughing or sneezing into your elbow. You know, it's more than just being polite, it's actually stopping those droplets from becoming airborne germ missiles.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's about protecting everyone around us from our own personal germ cloud.
Exactly.
Which makes me think about masks, too. So beyond just crowded places, when should we actually be wearing them? Like, is there a right time from an immune perspective?
Well, masks are basically like physical barriers. They filter out those tiny particles. If you're feeling sick, wearing one really helps stop you from spreading your germs.
So it's courteous.
And if you're healthy, but you're somewhere risky, like crammed on a train, a mask gives you that extra layer of protection.
So it's a two-way street, protecting others and ourselves.
It is.
Smart. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about our defenses on the inside. I'm talking about nutrition. So is there actually a superfood for immunity, or is that all hype?
You know, the idea of one single superfood that can just boost your immune system, it's a bit of a myth. Your immune system is kind of like an army. You need a variety of well-equipped soldiers to fight off invaders, not just one superhero.
So it's more about having that well-rounded dietary A-team.
Yes, exactly. A balanced diet with fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains, that's key.
So it's like building up a whole squad of nutrients.
It is, and some of the big players on that squad are vitamin C and zinc.
Okay, so where can we find those?
Vitamin C is in things like citrus fruits and berries. It helps your immune cells work their best. And zinc, which is in nuts and beans, helps build new immune cells.
Got it. So a colorful plate equals a powerful immune system.
That's a great way to think about it.
But what about the gut microbiome? We hear so much about it these days. How does it actually impact our immunity?
Oh, that's where things get really interesting. Think of your gut microbiome as this bustling city, home to trillions of bacteria, good and bad.
Wow, a city of bacteria. That's a wild image.
It is. And many of them are actually essential for a healthy immune system.
Okay, so how do we make sure that city thrives? I know fiber is important, but what about those trendy probiotics? Do they actually help?
Fiber is like the key ingredient. It's what those good bacteria need to flourish. It keeps the city well-stocked, so to speak.
Right, keeps everything running smoothly.
And those probiotics you mentioned, they're like introducing more beneficial citizens into the mix.
Like sending in reinforcements.
Yeah, exactly. So yogurt, kefir, things like that, all great additions. But on the flip side, eating tons of processed food and sugar actually throws that whole city into chaos. It leads to too many bad bacteria.
So what we eat directly affects our gut, which directly affects our immune system. It's all connected.
It really is.
Okay, so we've covered what we eat, but what about how we live our lives? Does that play into this whole immune system game too?
Absolutely. And one of the biggest players here is sleep. It's basically like the ultimate recharge for your immune system.
I knew sleep was important, but tell me why. What's actually happening while we sleep that helps our immune system?
Well, while you're snoozing away, your body's busy producing these molecules called cytokines, which are like tiny little warriors that fight off infection.
Wow, so they're like patrolling the body, keeping us safe.
Exactly. But if you're not sleeping enough, it's like sending those warriors into battle exhausted.
So burning the midnight oil could actually make us more likely to catch a cold or the flu.
It definitely can. And sleep's also crucial for managing stress, which we know can weaken our immune systems.
Stress can actually lower our defenses.
It can. So, getting enough sleep, it's a win-win, both for fighting off those bugs and for managing stress.
All right, I'm convinced. Sleep is officially on my list of immune-boosting priorities. But what about exercise? Does breaking a sweat help or hurt our immune army?
Moderate exercise is actually great for your immune system. It's like a training session for your immune cells, helping them circulate better and do their job more effectively.
So it's like sending those immune cells to boot camp.
Exactly. And studies actually show that people who are more active tend to get fewer colds.
Okay, so working out has double benefits, good for the body and for fighting off germs.
That's right.
But what about stress? Everyone's felt that rundown feeling when they're stressed out. Is that actually our immune system taking a hit?
It absolutely is. When we're stressed all the time, our body pumps out this hormone called cortisol. And cortisol actually suppresses certain immune responses.
So it's like hitting the mute button on some of our defenses.
Pretty much. That's why finding healthy ways to manage stress is so important for immune health. Whether it's meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, or even listening to music, anything that helps you unwind and de-stress can make a difference.
So taking care of our mental health is part of taking care of our immune system. It's all connected.
It is.
Are there any other lifestyle habits that can weaken our immune system?
There are two big ones we can't ignore: smoking and excessive alcohol. Both of them really weaken your immune system and make you much more vulnerable to infections.
So it's like they're working against our immune system from the inside. Why is that? What do those habits actually do to our bodies?
Smoking is basically waging war on your respiratory system. It damages those delicate tissues, making them an easy target for infections.
So it's not just about lung cancer, it's about weakening your defenses against all those everyday bugs, too. What about alcohol? How does that affect our immune army?
Excessive alcohol basically puts your immune cells on vacation. It suppresses their activity, making it much harder for your body to fight off those invaders.
So moderation is key when it comes to alcohol, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're a smoker, quitting is hands down one of the best things you can do to strengthen your immune system.
It seems like all these lifestyle choices really do have a bigger impact on our immune health than we realize. It's not just about avoiding germs, it's about creating a healthy environment for our bodies to thrive in.
I think that's a great way to put it. Building a foundation of resilience so our bodies are well equipped to handle whatever comes their way.
Okay, so we've talked about hygiene, nutrition, lifestyle choices, all those personal factors. But what about our interactions with other people? Do our social habits play a role in this immune game?
They absolutely do. How we interact with others can significantly impact our risk of getting sick. And it all starts with a simple but powerful principle: keeping our distance from people who are visibly ill.
So it's not rude to give someone a wide berth if they're coughing and sneezing.
Not at all. It's about being mindful of those respiratory viruses that spread through droplets.
So those coughs and sneezes are like tiny germ missiles, and we're just trying to stay out of the line of fire.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But what about when we're the ones feeling under the weather? What's the best way to protect others?
That's where staying home when you're sick comes in. It's not just about taking care of yourself. It's about being considerate of other people and preventing those germs from spreading further.
So no more powering through a cold and going to work.
It's tough, I know. But think of it this way. Staying home when you're contagious is like breaking the chain of infection. You're preventing those germs from reaching more people, especially those who are more vulnerable.
It's like a superhero move, stopping those evil germs in their tracks.
It is.
Okay, superhero status achieved. But are there any other social habits we should be thinking about?
Sharing is caring, but not when it comes to germs. Things like water bottles or lip balm. Those can be breeding grounds for bacteria and viruses.
I never thought about it like that, but it makes sense.
It does.
And what about all those friendly handshakes and hugs? Are those off limits too?
During cold and flu season, it's probably wise to consider some alternative greetings like a wave or a nod. It's just about acknowledging each other without creating unnecessary physical contact.
So a friendly wave instead of a handshake. Got it.
Exactly.
But what if a handshake is unavoidable, like in a professional setting? Any damage control tips?
Just be mindful afterwards. Avoid touching your face and wash your hands thoroughly as soon as possible.
So it's about breaking the chain of transmission.
Exactly.
And I guess we should mention masks again here, even in social settings. If you're not feeling 100%, wearing a mask is a really thoughtful way to protect the people around you.
Absolutely. It shows you care about their health.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about personal hygiene, nutrition, lifestyle choices, and our interactions with others. But what about our actual environment? Can we make our spaces less hospitable to germs?
Absolutely. Our surroundings play a huge role in our overall health, including how well our immune system can function.
So it's not just about what we do, but also the spaces we inhabit.
Exactly. And one of the most important things to consider is ventilation. Good airflow is like a breath of fresh air for your immune system. It helps to dilute and disperse viruses in the air, making it harder for them to reach you.
So opening a window or using a fan isn't just about comfort. It's a strategic move for better immune health.
It is. Studies have actually shown that viruses spread much more easily in enclosed, poorly ventilated spaces.
That makes a lot of sense. So what are some other environmental tweaks we can make to keep those germs at bay?
Don't forget about those high-touch surfaces. Doorknobs, light switches, keyboards, faucet handles, they're basically germ magnets. Regular cleaning and disinfection are key for breaking that chain of infection.
Okay, so it's not just about cleaning when we see visible dirt. It's about incorporating these habits into our daily routines.
Exactly. And it's not just about our homes either. Workplaces, schools, public spaces, they all need to prioritize regular cleaning and disinfection to create a healthier environment for everyone.
So it's like a collective effort to create a cleaner, healthier world.
Yes.
Are there any specific cleaning products that are especially effective?
The CDC recommends using EPA-registered disinfectants or bleach solutions. Just make sure to follow the instructions carefully.
And for quick cleanups on the go?
Alcohol wipes are great for quickly sanitizing surfaces, like your seat on an airplane or a shopping cart.
Smart. So it's all about being proactive and taking those extra steps to create a germ-free zone. Are there any other environmental factors we should be thinking about?
One that a lot of people overlook is indoor humidity. It might sound strange, but the moisture level in the air can actually affect how easily viruses spread.
Really? How does that work?
Dry air, which is common in the winter when we're using heating systems, can actually help viruses survive longer and travel farther.
So dry air is like an open invitation for those tiny invaders.
You could say that. It creates an environment where they can linger and spread more easily.
Mm.
Experts recommend keeping the humidity indoors at a moderate level, around 40 to 60%. You can use a humidifier if your home tends to be dry, especially in the winter.
So it's about finding that sweet spot, not too dry, not too humid. I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's not just about one single action. It's about this holistic approach that includes hygiene, nutrition, lifestyle choices, social interactions, and even our environment. It's all interconnected.
You've hit the nail on the head. Our health is this complex tapestry, and every thread contributes to the bigger picture.
But for someone who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information, what are some key takeaways?
Don't worry about feeling overwhelmed. We can boil it all down to a few key things.
Okay, so what are the top 3 things someone can do to boost their immune system and stay healthy?
First, prioritize those foundational habits. Wash your hands often, don't touch your face, and cover those coughs and sneezes. Those simple actions are incredibly effective.
It's about building that barrier between yourself and those invisible invaders.
Exactly. Second, focus on giving your body the nutrients it needs. A balanced diet full of fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and whole grains. And remember that fiber and probiotics for a healthy gut are super important too.
So it's like providing your body with the best fuel to run on.
Exactly. And third, don't neglect those lifestyle habits.
Mm.
Getting enough sleep, regular moderate exercise, managing stress, and avoiding smoking and excessive alcohol. Those are the foundations for a strong and resilient immune system.
It's about creating a lifestyle that supports a strong immune system, not one that weakens it.
You got it. And remember, even small, consistent changes can make a big difference.
So we've covered a lot today, from hand washing to healthy eating to the impact of our environment. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what else stands out to you as being really important when it comes to immune health?
You know, one of the most fascinating things is how interconnected all these different aspects of health are. For example, getting enough sleep doesn't just help your immune system, it also helps you manage stress better. And that lower stress level, in turn, boosts your immune response even further. It's like this amazing positive feedback loop.
So it's not just about focusing on one thing in isolation, it's about understanding how all these pieces fit together to create a bigger picture of health.
Precisely. Our physical, mental, and emotional well-being are all intertwined. By supporting one, you're supporting the others as well.
That's such an empowering message. It means that we have more control over our health than we realize.
Absolutely. That's what's so inspiring about the science of immune health. It's not about living in fear of germs. It's about understanding how our bodies work and taking proactive steps to create a foundation of resilience.
So we're not just sitting around waiting to get sick, we're actively participating in our own well-being.
Exactly. You have the power to make choices that support your immune system and help you thrive.
I love that perspective. It's not about being perfect. It's about making those small, consistent changes that add up to a healthier, more resilient life.
That's the beauty of it. And what's really exciting is that we're just scratching the surface when it comes to understanding the immune system. There's so much more to learn.
And that's what makes it so fascinating, right? We're constantly learning and evolving, and that knowledge gives us the power to take better care of ourselves.
Exactly. So remember, you're not helpless against those microscopic invaders. You have the power to build a strong immune system and live a healthier life. And you've just taken a huge step forward by learning all this.
And that's a wrap on part one of our deep dive into immune health and illness prevention.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll be exploring even more science-backed strategies to help you stay healthy and thrive. Welcome back to our deep dive into all things immune health.
It's amazing how many different things we can do to keep our immune systems in tip-top shape. From what we eat to how well we sleep to even how we interact with others.
It really is. And today, I want to shift our focus to something that's been a game changer for public health: vaccinations.
Vaccinations, they're often called one of the most powerful tools we have to protect ourselves from infectious diseases. But I have to admit, while I know they involve introducing a weakened or inactive form of a virus or bacteria, I'm not exactly clear on how that actually works.
Well, think of it like a dress rehearsal for your immune system. A vaccine gives your body a chance to practice fighting off a specific invader without the risk of actually getting sick.
So it's like giving our immune system a sneak peek at the enemy's playbook.
Exactly. This practice round triggers your body to produce antibodies, which are like specialized soldiers trained to target and neutralize that specific virus or bacteria.
So it's building up a customized defense force.
That's a great way to put it. And the best part is those antibodies stick around, providing long-lasting protection. So if you do encounter that virus later on, your immune system's ready to fight back effectively.
It's like having a highly trained security team on standby 24/7.
Yes.
But I know there's a lot of talk and sometimes misinformation surrounding vaccines. What are some of the concerns you've encountered?
One of the biggest ones is the idea that vaccines can actually cause the illness they're meant to prevent, but that's simply not true.
Right. The flu shot won't give you the flu.
Exactly. The versions of the viruses or bacteria in vaccines are weakened or inactive. They can't replicate and make you sick. You might have some mild side effects like soreness or a low-grade fever, but that's actually a good sign.
A good sign. Why?
It means your immune system is doing its job, learning and building up its defenses.
Okay, so those side effects are like proof that the training is working. What about the idea that vaccines overload our immune systems?
Well, our immune systems are incredibly powerful. They handle a massive amount of challenges every single day. Compared to that, vaccines introduce a tiny, tiny fraction.
So it's not like we're pushing our immune systems past their limits.
Not at all. They're more than capable of handling it. But I understand why people have concerns about the safety of vaccines.
Yeah, safety is a big one. How can we be sure they're safe for widespread use?
Well, before any vaccine gets approved for the public, it goes through incredibly rigorous testing and clinical trials. These trials involve thousands of people, and the data is very carefully analyzed.
So it's not a quick process. It takes time to thoroughly evaluate a vaccine.
Absolutely. And even after a vaccine is approved, there are monitoring systems in place to track any potential side effects. It's a continuous process.
So there's a system of checks and balances to ensure that vaccines remain safe.
Yes, precisely. And serious side effects are incredibly rare. The benefits of vaccination far outweigh the risks. And it's important to remember that getting vaccinated isn't just about protecting ourselves.
Right. It's about protecting the people around us, too.
Exactly. When enough people are vaccinated, it creates something called herd immunity.
Herd immunity, I've heard of that, but can you explain exactly what it means?
Sure. Herd immunity basically happens when a high percentage of the population is immune to a disease, which makes it much harder for that disease to spread.
So it's like creating a protective shield around the entire community.
Exactly. It's especially important for those who can't be vaccinated for medical reasons or who have weakened immune systems.
So it's a team effort to protect the most vulnerable among us. It's amazing how these individual actions can have such a ripple effect.
It really is a testament to the power of collective responsibility. Now, shifting gears a bit, we've talked a lot about healthy habits, but what about those who are already managing existing health conditions? How do those factor into the equation?
Yeah. How do chronic conditions affect our immune systems?
Well, chronic conditions like diabetes or heart disease can sometimes lead to a state of chronic inflammation in the body.
Chronic inflammation. What does that mean exactly?
It's like your body is constantly fighting a battle, which can drain its resources and make it harder for your immune system to function at its best.
So, managing those conditions is key not only for the condition itself, but for supporting a healthy immune response.
Exactly. It's crucial to work closely with your doctor to manage those conditions effectively.
That makes sense. Are there specific things people with chronic conditions can do in terms of lifestyle to support their immune systems?
Many of the same things we've already talked about are important. Getting enough sleep, moderate exercise, managing stress. These all help to reduce inflammation and promote overall well-being, which benefits the immune system.
So, it's about giving your body the best chance to fight those battles, so to speak.
Exactly. And of course, a balanced, nutrient-rich diet is always important.
Right, providing the building blocks for a strong immune system.
That's it. And for those with specific dietary needs, a registered dietitian can help create a meal plan that works for both their condition and their immune health.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from those basic hygiene habits to the complexities of chronic conditions. But before we move on, I wanted to touch on something that's often promoted as an immune booster: natural remedies and supplements. What are your thoughts on those?
That's a great question. It's an area that gets a lot of attention, but it's important to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism. Just because something is natural doesn't automatically mean it's effective or even safe.
So we can't just assume that anything labeled natural is good for us.
Right. Natural substances can still have potent effects, and it's crucial to do your research and understand potential risks or interactions.
So, what are some of the common natural remedies that people use for immune support?
Some popular ones are elderberry, echinacea, zinc, vitamin C, and probiotics.
Okay, let's break this down a bit. What about elderberry? I've heard it's good for colds. Any truth to that?
There's some research suggesting elderberry might help reduce the severity and duration of cold symptoms, but we need more studies to know for sure. And the quality of elderberry products can really vary, so it's important to choose a reputable brand.
So, it's not a guaranteed cure, but it might provide some relief. What about echinacea? It's often marketed as a cold and flu fighter. Does it actually work?
Echinacea has been used in traditional medicine for a long time, but the scientific evidence is a bit mixed. Some studies suggest it might help prevent or reduce the severity of colds, but others haven't found any real benefits.
So, it's not a sure thing. And we talked about how zinc is important for immune cell development, but does taking extra zinc actually help us fight off infections?
There's some evidence suggesting that taking zinc lozenges or syrup right when you start feeling cold symptoms might shorten the duration of a cold. But timing is key. If you start taking it after those first few days, it probably won't help. And be careful not to overdo it. Too much zinc can actually suppress your immune system.
So, moderation is important. And what about vitamin C? We talked about how important it is for immune function, but does popping extra vitamin C pills really help us avoid getting sick?
Vitamin C is definitely crucial for a healthy immune system, but research hasn't shown that taking massive doses once you already have a cold does much to reduce symptoms. It's more about consistently getting enough vitamin C through your diet.
Right, those colorful fruits and veggies.
Exactly. And finally, let's talk about probiotics. We discussed their role in a healthy gut microbiome, but do probiotic supplements actually boost our immune systems? Probiotics are definitely a hot topic in research right now. There's some evidence that they may offer some benefits for immune health, but the effects can really vary depending on the types of bacteria and the person's individual gut microbiome.
So, it's not a magic bullet.
No. And it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements, including probiotics.
So, when it comes to natural remedies and supplements, the key is to do our research, be mindful of potential interactions, and not expect miracles.
Absolutely. No single supplement can replace a holistic approach that includes a healthy diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, and all those essential hygiene practices we talked about.
Right, it's about building that strong foundation for overall well being.
Exactly. It's fascinating to think that there's still so much we don't know about the immune system.
We're constantly learning and making new discoveries.
That's what makes this feel so exciting. And as research continues, we'll gain even more insights into how to support our immune systems.
So it's an ongoing journey of learning and empowerment.
Exactly. And before we move on to our final segment, I want to leave you with this thought. Your immune system is an amazing and complex system that's always working to protect you.
It's a pretty incredible force.
It is. And by understanding how it works and making choices that support it, you're not just preventing illness, you're investing in your overall health and well-being.
It's about taking care of ourselves on every level, mind, body, and spirit.
Exactly. And with that, we'll take a short break and be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into immune health with even more fascinating insights.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive, and I'm so ready to keep uncovering these immune system secrets.
Me too. And to wrap things up, I want to really zero in on an area that's completely changing how we think about immunity. The gut microbiome.
Okay, the gut microbiome. We've talked about it a bit already, but let's go deeper. I mean, it's such a hot topic these days.
It really is. And for good reason. It's like a whole hidden world living inside us, with trillions of bacteria and other microorganisms hanging out in our gut.
Trillions. Wow.
And this internal ecosystem isn't just about digestion. It actually plays a huge role in how well our immune system functions.
So it's not just breaking down food.
Nope. It's much more than that. It's like
Yeah.
this massive communication network constantly sending signals to your immune system. It shapes how your immune system develops and how it reacts to threats.
Wow, so it's like a secret control center for our defenses.
That's a great way to think about it. And what's really fascinating is that the types of microorganisms in your gut, like how diverse they are, can actually impact how well your immune system works.
So a healthy, diverse gut microbiome equals a strong immune response.
Pretty much. When your gut is balanced, it's like having a well-trained army ready to defend you.
Hmm.
It helps keep your immune cells in check, making sure they're ready to fight when needed.
But what about when things get out of balance in the gut?
That's when we can run into problems. It's called dysbiosis, and it's basically an imbalance in the gut microbiome. And that imbalance has been linked to a bunch of health issues, including a weaker immune system.
So it's like the communication lines get crossed and our immune system doesn't get the right messages.
Yeah, something like that. And a bunch of things can cause this dysbiosis, like a bad diet, antibiotics, even stress, and exposure to toxins.
So it seems like a lot of those everyday choices we make can really throw off our gut balance.
Definitely. Which is why taking care of your gut is so important. It's like tending to a garden, making sure it has the right conditions to flourish.
So we've talked about fiber and probiotics, but are there other things we can do to keep our gut healthy?
Absolutely. First and foremost, a balanced and diverse diet. That means plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Those foods provide prebiotics, which are basically food for those beneficial bacteria.
So those colorful fruits and veggies are like a buffet for the good guys in our gut.
You got it. And those fermented foods we talked about before, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, they're all great for adding probiotics, which are like sending in reinforcements to your gut army.
And what about those probiotic supplements you see everywhere? Are those helpful?
Probiotics can be a good option in certain situations, like after taking antibiotics, which can wipe out both good and bad bacteria. But it's important to remember that everyone's gut is different.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Nope. And it's always a good idea to check with your doctor before starting any new supplements.
Got it. So we've covered a lot of concrete things we can do to help our immune systems, but is there more to it than just the physical stuff?
You know there is. Have you ever heard of psychoneuroimmunology?
Psychoneuroimmunology.
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
It's a fascinating field that looks at how our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can actually affect our immune system.
Wait, are you saying our mental and emotional states can affect how well our immune system works?
That's right. Researchers are finding more and more evidence that things like chronic stress, anxiety, and negative thinking can actually suppress our immune function.
Okay, that makes sense. I definitely feel like I get sick more easily when I'm stressed out.
And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
When your body is constantly dealing with these internal stressors, it has less energy to focus on fighting off external threats like viruses and bacteria.
Right. It's like our body can only handle so much at once.
Exactly. And on the flip side, positive emotions, things like joy and gratitude, have been shown to boost immune responses.
So it's not just about eating right and getting enough sleep. It's about taking care of our mental and emotional health, too.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And that's where practices like mindfulness and meditation can be really helpful. They help us manage stress, cultivate positive emotions, and become more aware of that mind-body connection.
It's like tuning into our inner world and seeing how it affects our physical health. It's amazing to think that we have that power.
We do. And the more we understand that connection, the better equipped we are to make choices that support our overall well-being.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've covered everything from simple habits to the mind-blowing world of the gut microbiome to the power of our own minds. Any last words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think the most important thing to remember is that your immune system is constantly working to protect you. And while you can't control everything that affects your health, you can definitely take steps to make sure your immune system is functioning at its best.
So it's about focusing on those daily choices that add up to a healthier, more resilient us.
Exactly. And who knows what other incredible discoveries are waiting for us in this field. It's a really exciting time to be exploring the world of immune health.
That's for sure. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into immune health and illness prevention. We hope you learned a lot and feel inspired to take charge of your health.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and stay well. We'll see you next time on the deep dive.